Good morning, good people of a great nation. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the very first edition of Development Focus with Jide Ojo on ITV. This is the 1st of June, 2022. Like I told you when we opened studio at 7, I said on by 7:30 we will be having our first discussion segment after the opening of the studio and then the social media. And this morning I brought a very big fish who is a how do I describe him? He's a man with a large, with 9 lives. I won't, even for $1 million, go to where he was working, where he is working. This man has dared all odds to provide humanitarian assistance and support to the internally displaced persons in the northeast Nigeria. With Boko Haram insurgency since 2009, you know what that means. To go provide assistance and support to the IDPs in their places of abode. Behind the camera, I was telling me of how many, attacks he has survived and all of that. But let me allow you to do the talking. I have with me Emmanuel Olisa Emeka. So, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
To be with you today.
It's a pleasure to have you. Tell us your full name and what you do for the benefit of our listeners.
Okay, good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me to Development Focus. I'm really honored to be here. You know you are my Egmont. We look up to you for all the wonderful advocacy you've carried out for many years. Okay, so my name is Emmanuel Oliseluka Osemeka. I'm the country director of Social Welfare Network Initiative. Social Welfare Network Initiative is a humanitarian organization. It's a non-profit organization established in 2012, and we've been providing life-saving assistance to internally displaced persons in the 3 northeast states in Nigeria: Adamawa, Yobe, and Borno State. We had a special focus in 3 local governments in Adamawa State and 3 local governments in Borno State, crisscrossing the Mandara Belt. So we were in Madagali, we were in Michika, we were in Goza. We also operated in Konduga in Borno State. Our operation started in 2015. Up until last year, when we decided to slow it down because humanitarian response is very tasking and it takes a toll on your health. So sometimes you need to slow down, and especially for those of us who worked in what we call the deep field. I operated within the Sambisa General area for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so at some point, the only way to get into the place was through helicopter. And other means is by road, and that is what you call the suicide mission. Because for you to go from Maiduguri all the way through Konduga, through Bama, then Puluka, then Goza, you have to go through what I don't know how else to explain it, because anything can happen to you. Either the IEDs on the road or ambush or whatever it is, it can happen.
Okay, and that's why when I was introducing you, I said you are a man with 9 lives. What was the attraction into humanitarian work, and in going to work in that in that environment that is like even the military itself is scared of going to such places?
Through the years, the military actually is the first humanitarian organization we've had in this world. But because they had to concentrate squarely on the territorial integrity of any given nation, I think that's one of the reasons why the United Nations created the humanitarian response activities, establishing the Office of Refugees, establishing the World Food Program, establishing the Food and Agriculture Organization for a longer time settlement and livelihood support. So for me personally, I've always been in love with children. I've never been the one that will shy away when I see, especially like, I mean, if I drive on the road and I see a parent with a child, and the child is on the side of the road and the parent is on the other side, I stop to correct the parent and like turn the child on the other side, because you need to protect the child. Sometimes I get lashed on, sometimes I get, oh, thank you, because sometimes, you know, people just get, you know, absent-minded. So consistently, I've provided with my organizations and my friends, we've provided vitamin A supplementation and nutrition assistance to a lot of children, under 5 children. In the FCT here, we had a fantastic partnership with National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the FCT Primary Healthcare Agency. We were the frontline organization that linked Vitamin Angels. Vitamin Angels is an organization that provides free vitamin A vaccination to children to be able to improve their nutrition. Okay, so, and if you look at the what you call the Maternal Newborn Child Health Week that we hold in Nigeria twice a year, the clear indicator for measuring the success of any maternal newborn child health activity, which is a 17 interventions for the family, but the major indicator for measuring success is vitamin A supplementation and deworming activities. So that was the core area where we were providing support, you know, here in FCT and about 10 states back in the days, including Borno State, until that insurgency thing happened, and of course it escalated to the point. So preponderance of our IDPs were our beneficiaries of that vitamin A supplementation.
Before the war broke out.
Yes. So one way or the other, we just got snailed into, you know, drawn into the humanitarian response as a result of the fact that a lot of children, you're providing vitamin A supplementation year in, year out to prevent vitamin A deficiency and also improve their nutritional status and to prevent what you call malnutrition, became victims of insurgency, and we couldn't just stand back.
Okay, Ima, let's take it before we go deeply into your work, because I'm still amazed at how you develop the courage and confidence to go into that deep field, all in the name of saving women. I've heard stories of some of your colleagues who were kidnapped and massacred, you know, in Iran, in some other places. So for you to have that courage, I don't know. Like I keep asking myself, $1 million, would that make me change my mind? I've only been to Maduguri and the 2-3 days I spent there, I'm always looking over my shoulder. So for you to now walk in the deep field, but let's look at it. Why the insurgency in the first place? From your interactions with the natives and in the course of your activities there, how did you think, what promoted this insurgency, and how do we get out of it?
I think it's a combination of a whole lot of things. We cannot clearly isolate one from the other. And so you cannot divorce bad governance, successive bad governance. So when the political actors consistently, you know, subjugate the people and perpetuate them in poverty, you know, so which entails lack of education. So when you don't educate the mind cannot go beyond a certain level. Then also, as a result of that, you create room for any form of anybody to come in to say anything, and the people will believe it. So because of the consistent subjugation of the populace within that particular zone, so we're narrowing specifically to the particular locality, that poverty thing created room for religious preachers, you know, funny religious preachers to come in and preach or, you know, radicalize the mind of some of these folks, and they now believed that government is their enemy. It just goes to say, you know, something similar to what you have in the southeast. You know, so
with DIPOB,
yes,
you mean?
The agitation is good. Is a good thing, is a nice thing, but the approach and the lies, the fake news, the disinformation and misinformation, you know, goes to the extent of, you know, creating a mindset on the people, and they begin to feel that it is we against them. So it is similar to what happened in the Northeast, where religious preachers began to preach against the government, and, you know, took it further by telling them that the government is their problem, and as a result, that education is a sin.
So this issue of education is a scam that is now being promoted across the country.
Yes.
That's what Boko Haram means. Western education is a sin. We've been in this for over 10 years, since 2009, when Yusuf, the leader of the sect, was extrajudicially killed, and now created this problem. At some point, I think Nigeria has the highest number of IDPs across around the world.
Yes.
And now, so what's the situation on ground now? Well, I mean, from my high witness, I'm not, because when you ask the military, we are on top of the situation. When you have this, they have been defeated. So from my high witness, where are we with insurgency in the Northeast?
Okay, so I will put it this way. First of all, I want to say this clearly. I've never been prouder, if there's any word like that, you know, of our military. In all fairness and in all sincerity, Nigeria has one of the best militaries in the world. With or without the right equipment, they sacrifice so much. We have men who are patriotic, men who are willing and ready to provide support. You know, what I saw is that certain locations, where there are certain locations we called inaccessible area. Inaccessible in the sense that the military may have taken the location, but because it's not safe enough to bring in the civilian population, so we can classify that as inaccessible. So until the military is able to create some level of buffer, so you see, to the extent the military go, that's why you hear that, oh, certain local government, the military is there, but there are no human settlements in that place. That's one of the things the current governor is trying to do, to see how the military can do more, expand the coast, let the people come back, begin their farming and fishing and trading activities in the locality. So for me, I give a thumbs up to our military. A lot of time, a lot of that I'm alive today is an act of God, using the military to ensure that people like us are kept alive.
Wow.
So I'm very...
So it's not like you use Odeshi on all of those trips.
No,
you didn't have some
I have Jesus.
Because I'm just wondering, if I'm going to go with you to that field, maybe I will have gone to do some spiritual bath.
Yes, Jesus is a protector. You know our mutual friend, Camry Apollo?
Yeah,
Each time I come back, he check my fingers to be sure they are complete, and check my...
that you have not been
we have been amputated and all that. So.
It's really not funny.
Yeah.
For those who are watching us, you need to be in this place. This asymmetrical war. You don't even know whether the person next to you is a member of that. They don't wear uniform.
No,
you don't know them by face. So for you to deal with an enemy you don't know. And you are working in that environment, and you know, these people don't even differentiate between humanitarian workers and the military. They may know them because they wear uniform. The police will wear uniform. But people like you, do you affect?
Even now, the humanitarian agencies are the target.
You see?
One of the major reasons that some of us have slowed down, also beyond even the fact that you're tired, because the work is not done. There's a whole lot. The rebuilding is still far from even over. There's a whole lot to be done. I mean, if you visit Burma when it happened, the entire Burma was destroyed. No building was standing.
Wow.
The entire, when I say it, and you know, like when you say Burma, we're talking about Amak. The entire
Abuja
Municipal Area Council, the entire, no single house in Amak was left untouched.
Wow.
That's what happened in Bama. Then you go further to Konduga, more than half of Konduga was destroyed. You go to places like Pulka, Goza, and all that, because Goza was the caliphate, was where they set up as their headquarters. So the Goza local government.
But there's a police college in Goza, isn't it?
The police college is in Limankara, yes, in Goza.
Okay.
That's between the border between Goza and Madagascar.
So they have taken over the police college.
Not anymore. No, the military is recovered, and I think the police college, the Mopo, this is back there.
It's back there,
right now.
So now let's talk. So how do we end this insurgency? Because we need to end this insurgency for people to have confidence to go back to their ancestral home. And they cannot live forever at IDP camps.
Absolutely.
So what do you think will be the way out of this insurgency? How do we put a final nail on its coffin?
Like we've always advised, and a whole lot of the strategy is not also something you can discuss on television. But however, one of the key elements is that we need to invest heavily in education, which I believe that the current governor in Borno State and the governor in Adamawa State, they've forged a synergy. So education is becoming a priority. Western education is becoming a priority, because when you educate the mind, it expands. The mind, it becomes limitless. There's so much you can do. So the education is now being used as a weapon of de-radicalization. So that, because you see what had happened and why this thing festered was that because of the seed of hatred against the government and the institutions that was sown over time, when the time came for the government to wipe out or to clear the Boko Haram activity, the communities were protecting the Boko Haram people. So that was what happened. So, but until the Boko Haram people began to rule over the people and began to amputate them and do some of the things they preached against, the people now realize that the chicken has come home to roost, unfortunately. So the people now know sincerely that they were lied to in the first instance. Because we're a very religious society in Nigeria, both the Christian and the Muslim and the traditional people and all that. But the truth of the matter is that you must be able to understand that even in all the religious books and all that, the government is recognized there. It's God that puts people in power, even though we know that people machinate themselves and enthrone themselves and all that. But we also know that there is nothing that happens here on earth that God is not privy.
So education will be a key factor to end insurgency.
Absolutely.
Maybe alongside with poverty reduction and unemployment.
That is without saying. That is without saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's look at what your organization and other humanitarian services were able to do in the course of the period that you were there. Let's take it from what kind of support do you offer the IDPs when you go meet them?
So the intervention were two-pronged.
Okay.
So we had the emergency operation where when the military goes in operation, because I operated in the deep field, we also provided some assistance in Maiduguri. Maiduguri didn't have the insurgency per se, okay, because of the seat of government and of course the heavy presence of security. But in the far-flung locations, in the local government, in the wards where, you already know what the local government system is practically not available there. So that was where these activities took place. So that was where we were. So at that location, whenever the military recovers a particular local government or a particular ward or a particular locality, most often they liberate a lot of captives. And when they come out, they are usually very malnourished. They're usually hungry, scruffy, and all that. So humanitarian organizations will come in for what you call immediate life-saving, emergency operation. So at that point, what you need to provide is first, food. Second, shelter. Third, water. Then, of course, psychosocial support and all that. It comes together. You know, so over time we began to, you know, create what you call mainstreaming the entire interventions together, so that there's none that is isolated. Then, after a while, we now do what we call transition. So if people come in today and we provide food assistance to them for like 6 months, so you give them food daily for 6 months.
That's raw food or cooked food?
We give, when they arrive, they get fresh cooked food, at least first, to get themselves back. Then they get medical assistance and the rest of them. Then over time, they are settled into a shelter, maybe makeshift or what, or otherwise. Then we begin to give them raw food. Then NEMA
they will
and
start
get the
cooking
condiment. Then they start cooking their food, because I mean that's the only way, part of what they need to begin to fend for themselves, because it's practically impossible to cook for 178,000 beneficiaries on a daily basis. So at some point we were doing 230,000 beneficiaries daily. You know.
Okay, that is huge.
Yes.
But tell us, who are your support? Which organization was giving you the financial support? And were you working in collaboration with Red Cross and NEMA and which?
Okay, so Red Cross, the responsibility of Red Cross most in what you had there was ICRC, International Red Crescent. They were providing support, but mostly in certain locations. Not all. Red Cross was not in all locations. In my location where I worked in Pulka, I worked in Goza, I worked in Michka, worked in Madagali, right? In those places we had Medicine Sans Frontiers.
Okay, so Doctors Without Borders.
Doctors Without Borders. So they provided medical assistance. We had UNICEF.
Okay.
We had, we were representing World Food Program.
Okay, WFP
and FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations.
Okay.
You know that World Food Program used to be an arm of FAO, even though they still have that synergy. They were the emergency operation of FAO, while the FAO was a longer term approach to provide seedlings, teach the people proper farming practice, to produce nutritious food that will also, you know, because the essence of the food provision is first of all to ensure that the people have what you call the standard food score on a daily. Every human being needs what you call 2,100 food score, calories of food a day.
How do you measure that?
So there are portions of food that you must take on a daily basis to maintain your nutritional balance, so that you don't get into the borderline or get malnourished. So on a regular basis, you check the children under 5 with MWAC tape, what you call mid-upper arm circumference measurement. That is what you use to check for somebody who is malnourished, severely malnourished, or moderately
did you
malnourished.
receive training yourself?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yes.
What is your background? What did you study?
Okay, so I studied mathematics and computer science. Then I did
Uniben, I guess?
No, University of Abuja.
Oh, okay.
Then I did masters in statistics.
Okay.
Then I also did another masters in public health.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
So you're fully prepared. So, but for you to represent WFG,
no,
they have to train you.
You have to be trained.
And your staff. Okay.
Yes, I have to train. I mean, I went through a whole lot of training. I went through this FAIR Handbook, which is the World Humanitarian Handbook, to prepare you for humanitarian response in hard to reach locations. Then, of course, with the vitamin A supplementation activities, which we call the VASD activities, you know, there is also training that you get to be able to provide vitamin A supplementation to hard to reach population. So my first intervention in an FCT was the free eye care that I gave to the North. We had about over 1,000 people that we gave free eye care in the FCT. We worked with about 5 different eye clinics in the FCT. I think we did some partnership with Brekete family at the time too. You know, when they were still using certain radio stations and all that. So over time, we've done quite a number of activities focusing on hard to reach locations. In FCT here, we're working in Abaji, we're working in what do you call it, in Kwali, in Buari Area Council. In Anambra State, we were working in Oyi and other places.
Okay, tell me about one nasty experience, a close shave with death that you had, maybe, because going to add to rich environment.
Yeah.
Did you ever contemplate that you may not return at any of the points?
Well, this is a story that I have barely told. I've never told this story on air. I've only told it to my friends privately, because it's not something you want to, because you don't want to scare anybody. The truth is that humanitarian response is, sometimes we call it, it has to be, sometimes we are referred to, you must be called to be able to do humanitarian.
It's like evangelism.
Yes, because it's a selfless service. It's not, like you mentioned, it's not about money, because the truth is that most often, it's not even the money. You always come out with a scar on your body.
Or your mind.
Or your mind.
Whether your body or your mind. Because when you see people who are dying,
I mean,
and you could not help.
I don't know how many people, there was a time I was traveling, so people were in the plane talking, So I asked, they were making some inference about politics and some of the things are not good. And I asked them, I said, are you aware that Nigeria has been fighting war for the past 4 years? They said, where?
Imagine.
So many Nigerians were not even aware that the moment your F-15 and F-16 takes off to go and bomb the location, there is war. That the moment that your tanks come out, so you are talking about far away. I've been in a vehicle and Boko Haram came. They had to put us in the tank, 3 of us. They had the MRAP that, is bulletproof and all that, but it was demobilized. It was demobilized. I ran through and improvised explosive device. So the tires were demobilized. We had to be put into the tank. And while in the tank was releasing. So I was deaf for 3 days.
Wow.
And after that, I had to, each time I sleep, if you drop a pen, I will freak out.
Wow. So that's why I said you are either scared physically or your mind is scared.
Yeah.
Because just imagine that now you yourself need psychosocial support.
Yes.
Because
because
of all the trauma of what you've gone through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really must commend you for all of your efforts in providing this, and I think people like you deserve an award. But before we call it a wrap on this segment, there have been accusations of corruption against many humanitarian aid providers by government, whether at the state or federal level, that you people are also providing some cover for insurgents and all of that. You possibly have read about all of these accusations. So what's your response to that? Particularly the aspect of corruption, that you are just using those people to get money and all of that.
Okay, well, you see, the truth is that in every school, there are different classes. There is primary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some schools also have nursery school, kindergarten, and the rest of them. Some even have university. So to wake up and say everybody in that school is the same, is not a good analogy, or it's not a proper, it's not a fair profiling. So I believe that people should be profiled subject to their own merit.
Okay.
So if I'm in class 5, treat me as class 5. If I'm in class 2, treat me as class 2. What am I trying to say? Yes, you cannot run away from the fact that non-profit organization is public trust. It's not different from government, because you are administering funds that is meant for public good. Therefore, you must be responsible for your actions. You must be accountable. You must be transparent. You must show clearly that you understand what you are doing. You must show clearly that the funds that have been given to you, or the materials that you have been provided for the good of the people, is squarely used for the good of the people. So what am I trying to say? There is accountability metrics in everything we do.
Okay.
Every registered non-profit organization in Nigeria must report to the National Planning Commission every year with your report. You must file your tax returns. with CAC. You must file your tax. I mean, definitely you pay payee for all your staff, but you become non-profit when you don't get into profit-related activities. So there are checks already in place. Okay. Yes, I know that the institutions are not very robust, you know, in terms of checking and picks. But when you are funded by an agency like United Nations, they are very thorough. They don't just wake up and give you money. No.
There are assessments.
Yes.
Of course, there will be grants, proposal,
when you're giving,
which will be, then MIE framework, budget notes, massive, and all of that.
Independent monitors and all that. So they come in with all their reports. And at the end of the day, there's what is called performance evaluation. So those performance evaluation also determine whether you did the work the way you were supposed to be done. Whether there's what is called financial review. There's financial audit. Most of my organization have been subjected to 2 financial audits. Financial audit is audit done by United Nations that come from New York.
Wow.
So for them to come and clear you, it means you've done things appropriately. You see, this prepared me to the point that you must understand that if it's not budgeted for, you can't spend it.
You can't spend it, yes.
For you to spend it, you have to budget for it. It has to be approved. It has to be signed. And the money has to be released. And beyond that, it has also shown me that even if when you're holding public trust and funds are provided for you to buy a recharge card for you now, that is the head of the organization, it must be approved. It has to be applied for, it has to be approved, and it has to be subject to what was budgeted. So you can't say because it is 100 naira, therefore you don't need approval. No, that's fraud. If it doesn't go through what you call corporate governance system, then something is wrong. So it opened me up to understanding and appreciating what corporate governance is and how to be accountable and how to be transparent. So it has broadened my horizon and understanding, you know, in all sphere of public trust. So there are people who really feel that they don't need to be accountable to anybody. So they behave as they like. So for example, at some point we were doing 3.2 tons of food, 3,200 tons of food per month. And that's a massive caseload that if you do not have capacity, you cannot manage it. So we had warehouses all over the places. So you had to ensure logistics, you have to ensure counting, you have to ensure that whatever you take out, you know, so you're not there. You're not there in the field 100%. So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations where you have warehouses, how do you manage it? It means you have to put up a robust system, accountability system that will check what your people are doing.
So invariably, what you are saying is that while some may not be accountable, one should not use the same brush to tie everybody.
No,
that depends on who is funding you.
Exactly.
Because if you are being funded by United Nations agencies,
yes.
I've worked for them in the past, and I know how thorough we are, you know, in demanding accountability. But okay, so
even Jide Danjuma Foundation also funded us for 3 years.
Okay. To do what?
To do the same food activity.
Okay.
So they complemented. There were certain gaps that was identified. So Jide Danjuma Foundation, you know, funded.
But what is Northeast Development Commission doing? Is it providing any support for organizations like yours? It's been there 3 years now, or 4 years.
Well, we are still talking to them. We've been talking to them since 2013, and we're still talking.
So when would they roll out
I think I'll leave it there for now.
Because they are supposed to support you to provide those you know, humanitarian assistance.
They are supporting some agencies though, but you know, I don't want to get into.
Okay, let's leave. So you have talked about your narrow escape from death and all of that. So what makes you happy doing this work?
Oh, my brother. I cannot show pictures because of
Next time we have you, we want to see pictures of some of these your activities, so that people say seeing is believing.
Yes.
When I saw you, I said I thought you have relocated because I knew you were out of circulation in Abuja for a while.
Yes.
So I thought you've relocated to the Northeast permanently.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is this: whenever I see a malnourished child, and you provide any level of life-saving support to that child, and you see the child move from severely malnourished to moderate to normal, and the child is eating properly, then one way or the other there's an integration. You bring the child to a school, child is going to school, they're getting clean water. There may be one way or the other you support the parents of that child to be able to continue to provide that support to the child. You provide the parents of that child with a livelihood, either by building market and giving them the market store to run, or you provide some assistance to them to be able to set up a market or whatever it is, or you repair, like some of this. We rebuilt a lot of schools in Madagali. We rebuilt a lot of schools in Goza and in Pulka. We rebuilt a lot of markets in those places because we also needed to provide market for the people, because a lot of them were traders. So when farm activities happen, you need to provide the market. So there were a whole lot of things we were doing to support the family to ensure that malnutrition does not happen again to the children. So when you see them move from dependent to being self-reliant, you get a good smile, because you are seeing the direct impact of what you've done. So for example, in Pulka, we had Pulka water supply was supposed to be for about 15,000 population, but in Pulka we had over 100,000 population in Pulka. Meant that the water that was available, either the one being provided by IOM or
International Office of Migration.
It was not enough. Even at some point they were trucking water from Goza, and to go from Goza to Pulka is a dangerous path. It's just a 15 minutes journey if the road was good, but the road is bad, so it takes about 40 minutes, and you need military escort to sweep the place for mines and all that. So the job is a dangerous job. Or is it the houses that we rebuilt for the very old and vulnerable people? We rebuilt about 15 houses for the people. They are all there standing. The government is happy when they see such things, because it falls within the government resettlement and rehabilitation plan. Yes. So there was a whole lot that you would do. There was a whole lot we did that when the people see you, they pray for you. In fact, the Emir of Goza wanted to give me traditional title, and I said no.
No, you should have taken it so that you will know.
But they called me the Ban Ki-moon of Goza. But it's not a traditional title.
No, you are the Ban Ki-moon of Goza. So when next I see you now, you are the Ban Ki-moon of Goza.
But it's Guterres we have now, not Ban Ki-moon anymore.
Yeah. But no, Ban Ki-moon, we all know the story.
Yes.
So it's really, I'm really very happy to have you back in one piece and doing this interview with me, because I've known you to be a very hardworking, very patriotic Nigerian, and for you to have even chosen that very hard path to provide support, livelihood support for internally displaced people who are in hard-to-reach environment, at the risk of your own life and those of your staff, you deserve a national recognition and award. And I know God that protected you all those years will not leave you. So your final words as we wrap up, because we need to take on the next segment of this show. So what is your message out for government, for people, and for those who are watching us?
Violence does not help anybody. Violence happens because of hate speech. Most people consider their speech to be their right. But you forget that where your right starts and ends is where mine starts. So I believe that we must learn to accommodate people. We must learn to live in peace. We must learn to be responsible fathers, responsible mothers, responsible children, responsible citizens. Because the truth is that there is no way you can have any form of development in an atmosphere of violence or chaos or war. So it's the same thing I'm saying to the northeast Nigeria, the same thing I'm saying to the southeast Nigeria, the same thing I'm saying to the northwest, the same thing I'm saying to the southwest. And I'm also saying to government that the public trust is a responsibility. So everyone who is giving trust, the public trust, must hold that trust responsibly and for the good of the people. There is no leader that's provided for the people and developed the environment where he superintended that the people hate. There's none. Each time you see a leader that is booed, stoned, or the people talk ill of, is because he has not been able to touch the lives of the people with the public trust that has been given.
So for next election, what will be your message? Because you're talking about, we should eschew violence. Yes. And this political season, we have already started seeing early warning signs of violence.
Absolutely. Peace is the bedrock. You cannot rule Nigeria. I want to believe that President Buhari now will even have a proper reality check, because 1 year is here. It's just less than 1 year.
We are counting down.
He's now counting down. I'm sure with the benefit of hindsight, he would probably have done a lot of things differently. I believe he wished a lot of the escalation of the insurgency across the country. He never envisaged it. He never ever thought about it. And he may have been able to do more if we had peace. And there is nobody that will invest in a tumultuous environment. So the effect on the economy, the effect on the citizens is as a result of the violent killings in this country.
So okay. That's Emmanuel Osemeka telling us about the need for peace. Let's give peace a chance. That's what the late singer, what's her name now, sang many years, give peace a chance. Christian Igbo, may God bless her memory. Let's give peace a chance. He has seen it all. He has escaped death on a number of occasions. And he's seen people malnourished, people who do not deserve the very harsh life they are living. So if you will join us to be ambassadors of peace as we prepare for 2023 election, let's give peace a chance. I want to thank you, Emmanuel, for coming on the show this morning.
Thank you, sir.
I really do appreciate you. I hope when next we invite you over this same issue or any other issues of national importance, you will oblige us. I wish you Godspeed.
Amen,
I wish you safety. And I wish you best of the month of June 2022.
Amen.
So we'll be back in a bit for the second and conclusive segment of Development Focus with Jide on ITV. Please stay tuned.